wait a minute. Is that what I'm on? Yeah. Of course, Adam was put in the garden and he was commanded not to eat of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And also, that's when Satan, the serpent, began to talk to Eve. And, wait a minute, am I in the right place? Okay. Yes, right there. Okay. Yes. So anyway, the serpent told Eve, you know, that's what he was trying to confuse her with the word. That's what he gave her. He deceived her, gave her a manipulative word. And, you know, of course, we know God told him, commanded them not to eat of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And you know, lest she die. In which the serpent came and told him, oh, you're not going to die. And so, bottom line, just to sum all that up, we know that the devil had sold a what? Deceitful word to Eve. Is that right? A manipulative word that caused her to make that act of disobedience and eat off the tree that they were commanded not to eat off of. Everybody with me? So that's what happened. You know, we don't know what fruit it was that they ate. All we know is that she did, you know, was disobedient and ate off the tree and also gave to Adam. So, let's see. What does anybody know where we stopped at? Okay, we went down to 6, right? Okay, I got a question. Nobody got nowhere to stop at. But I got a question. A little trivia for everybody. Now, was Adam and Eve both deceived?
No.
No.
No?
No.
Who was deceived?
Eve.
Okay, Adam was right there beside him, hearing everything. Was he deceived?
Yes.
If the word said yes, he was right. He said yes.
I'm not sure.
Who says that they were both deceived? Oh, who said that? What'd you say, Kathy? You say yes. Who says yes? Who says no? You just don't know. That's all right. So, now, for the one, you say yes?
Oh, no.
Oh, you said no?
No.
Okay, Chris says no. Why you say no, Chris?
I think Eve was deceived by the lie. Adam had a choice to either continue to follow God or just do what his wife did.
Did Eve have a choice too?
Yes.
Yeah,
Eve had a choice.
but she actually got the lie, you know, the deceitful word told
Adam
her.
was right there. They both had a choice, right? So what did...
I mean, we hit this, and you know, I asked myself that question. Now, I think we did. And the thing about it was, he was right there with her. God put him dominion over everything. So if the serpent was talking to her, he was right there. He could have easily said no, but he followed right along with her. Whether he said anything to the serpent or whether the serpent was talking to him directly, indirectly he heard the whole conversation. So he couldn't have did something about it.
Could have done something about it.
So Adam was there when the serpent deceived Eve.
Well, he had to be, because did she give him a bite right there? It didn't say she called him. She just said she took and ate.
She could have walked over to
him a
him.
bite.
No, hey, I got something for you.
But if you look at in this part, when you talk about Adam, Eve was right there.
It doesn't say
When you talk about Eve, Adam was right there. She was his helpmate, so they were designed to be together.
Okay. So now, for the
Adam wasn't
person,
deceived though.
so
I don't think.
can you back that up, Chris? Can you back it up through the word? Okay, then for the ones that said,
All he did was disobey God.
okay.
So did she.
So
did
now,
she.
can y'all, all the ones that agree, can y'all back it up by the word? I'm just giving y'all a little trivia this morning. I give y'all 2 minutes. You got your hand raised? What's your name?
My name's Ernest Byrd.
Ernest?
I feel that
Satan deceived Eve, and Eve deceived Adam.
Okay, he says he feel like Satan deceived Eve and Eve deceived Adam. Okay,
I'm trying to find.
so y'all got 2 minutes to.
Didn't Eve bring forth the fruit and tell Adam that it was okay to eat it?
Well, she just told him, she just gave him a bite. She took it and gave him some.
And let me know it was okay, so, I mean, that's
Well, Adam knew it wasn't okay because God had just commanded him, not to eat. Oh, you backing up? You gonna back up? Yeah, you gonna back up your answer that you feel like they were deceived. And Chris is supposed to, the one that says no, he's supposed to back up that Adam was not deceived. I got 1 more minute. I just thought I'd give that little trivia for y'all this morning with y'all searching. Tony, you found, Chris, you found something?
I think I might have something, but
I believe it's
I think it actually going to go a different way.
I think it's verse 6.
Genesis verse 6, what, chapter 3?
Yeah, I think that's it.
Oh, no, that's not it. That's not gonna,
Oh, I'm sorry.
but that's good though, Tony. What you got, Chris? Hey, y'all's minutes up.
Here you go.
Oh, you found it, John? No, I'm trying to. Oh, you got it?
Here you go, Genesis chapter 3, starting verse 4, it says, the serpent said to the woman, you will not surely die, for God knows that the day you eat of the day you eat of it, and your eyes will be open. You will be like God, knowing good and evil. So when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, that it was pleasant to the eye, and the tree is desirable to make one wise, she took. I'm sorry. She took of its fruit and ate. She also gave her husband with her and he ate too. That's where I feel like she deceived Adam because she gave him the fruit too. I say here, it's a good fruit.
That's good, but that ain't it. Yeah, now we know Eve was deceived, but okay, you got it, Chris. But that's good, Ernest, huh?
My help me.
Oh, what you got?
1 Timothy,
Okay.
chapter 2,
He got it, y'all.
starting at the 13th verse.
Read it for the ones that thought that Adam was deceived.
For Adam was first formed, then Eve. And Adam was not deceived, but the woman being deceived was in transgression.
Y'all got that? Did you put it up on? Okay. Y'all see that? For all them that raised their hand. What, huh? 14. It's up there. 1 Timothy 2:14. And Adam was not deceived, but the woman being deceived was in the what? Transgression. See, that's right. This is where sin is. Come on, give out. That is a hand.
Oh, no, all right. Help me.
She had to find it. Well, she said she was thinking they both were deceived. Oh.
It failed.
Say what? That was good. That's good. Okay, you helped yourself. You switched your answer, didn't you?
So what did she do? Did she just hand him the, and
She
he
got
took a bite and that was it?
Yeah, she was the one deceived, not Adam. So but see, I used to think Adam was deceived right along with Eve, because they both ate of the fruit of the tree of good and knowledge of good and evil. But, so that was scripture was shown to me. I was arguing up a storm with somebody that not of this church. And I had to go back and say, I'm so sorry, you're so right, I found that scripture. So that's good. Chris, you stood by your answer, didn't you? Come on, give Donna a hand, please.
Initially, I thought that neither one of them was good and evil. She was just believing, the serpent. When her eyes were open, she already knew if she gave it to Adam, he would be, the same. So she was deceiving Adam to get her on.
No.
And that's why
That's what you was believing.
At the second time, when I was actually changed my mind.
Oh, okay, yeah. Like, somebody else said it. I can't remember who else said that. So, that was good, y'all. So, next week we might have another one. So, y'all might want to really brush up. We thank God for our pastor in the house. The greatest pastor this side of heaven. Okay, so, now, as we're going back, let's see. So, we got that. And we're still going back over last week's. So, look at verse 8. So, in all that, we know that they both had a choice, right? They both had a choice to make that right choice to, be obedient to what God commanded them to or not to be. So, now, we're going to spend a lot of time on this. We're just kind of going back. And let's see, look at verse 8. Okay, so that's when okay, wait a minute. Where did I stop at? I'm sorry, y'all. Okay. So now we see where their eyes were open. I don't remember if we did that last week or not. And they became naked. Now, do y'all remember the other lesson where we was looking at how they were naked? The Bible says they were naked and they were not what? They were not ashamed. Because, they had not committed no sin or anything, so it did not even matter. They didn't realize that, they were the way they were until their eyes became open. So they were not ashamed. But here, since they ate of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, now look at verse 7. It says, and the eyes of them both were open, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves aprons. But how do y'all know you can't try to cover up your sin? Because what you done did, it's done. It's going to come out in the light. And, when I think about, even with David, being a man after God's own heart, even after he had took Bathsheba, is that right? And slept with her, got her pregnant, and then what? He tried to cover it up because she was married to Uriah. So he tried to what? Cover it up. He said, but God seen it. You can't cover up sin. You done sin. Just ask the best thing to do when you sin and you're godly sorrowful for what you did. Just ask God, Lord, I did that. I should not have. Please forgive me, God. I'm godly sorrowful. Now don't be saying if you're going to do it again. You're going to do it again. You're going to do it again. Because that's not what? That's not having a repentant heart, being godly sorrowful. Because your intentions is what? To keep sinning. But if you did it, just say, Lord, I'm sorry. Please forgive me for that. Don't try to cover up. The more you try to cover up, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. So, but David, he tried to cover it up. He tried, I believe he told Uriah to go with somebody. I can't remember the story. It's been so long. Tried to send Uriah to do something, and Uriah ended up sleeping right there. He tried to send him home, I believe it was what. And so he could sleep with his wife, and then she turned up pregnant. It'd be, everybody think, well, it's Uriah's, but he slept at the doorpost. He wouldn't even go home. And then he sent him out to the battle and put him right on the front, the hottest part, and had him killed. And so, but God said, you did it. Did my mic go out? Can y'all hear me? Okay. God said, now you did it. He said, you did it in secret, but he's going to what? Open you up. And what did he do? He told him he was going to have all his concubines, who was it? Who slept with his concubines out in front of the whole Israel? Was it his son? Was it his son? One of his sons. Anyway, y'all go back and read the story. Yeah, y'all go back and read the story. But anyway, and he did it what? In front of what? All Israel. They put up a tent. Is that right? And he slept with all. I know that somebody in his family slept with all David's concubines in front of all Israel. So you can't cover up a sin. It's gonna come out. So just go ahead and if you're big and bad enough to do the sin, just go ahead and be big and bad enough. Ask God, Lord, please forgive me. I'm sorry, I did it. Is that all right? So now, let's go on. We ain't going to stay long on this. We're going to go to our list. So anyway, they hid themselves. Verse 8, they hid themselves. And I'm just going to kind of sum it up. In verse 9, God called unto Adam and said unto him, where art thou? How you know God knew where he was all along? But God said he wanted to say he knew Adam done did it, and he knew Adam was hiding from him. Just like we do our children when y'all know, or even yourselves growing up, you done did something growing up, and you know you broke that coffee cup of your mama's because you probably trying to get her last little coffee out the cup or something. Then you done turned the cup over and broke it. Then you go on and try to hide, and your mama looking like, I know what you did. But what? She gonna ask you anyway, is that right? So if you gonna be honest, tell the truth. But God knew all along what Adam done, and look at verse 10, and he said, I heard thy voice in the garden, and I was afraid, because I was naked, and I hid myself. Now, he wasn't afraid before this, is that right? So now, he's scared because he knows they done did wrong. He done broke the commandment that God told him not to do. And if y'all have any questions, we're just trying to sum this up so we can go into our next lesson. Look at verse 11, and he said, who told thee that thou was naked? Hast thou eaten of the tree whereof I commanded thee that thou shouldest not eat? And the man said, the woman whom thou gavest to be with me, she gave me of the tree, and I did eat. So now he's trying to blame Eve. Is that right? Now, God gave him dominion over everything. And what Adam should have done, though, if you know what God said, don't you touch that, don't you eat that apple. But Adam gonna be like that, yeah, it's good, give me a bite. And so, anyway, look at verse 13. And the Lord God said unto the woman, what is this that thou hast done? And the woman said, the serpent beguiled me, and I did eat. So she was deceived by the serpent, which was who? Satan. Now, does anybody have any questions? We're going to go to our lesson. We just want to finish that up because it continues on to verse 14. Oh. That's who I think it was. That was his. Right, Absalom. I was trying to say Absalom, but what comes out? I think I said Absalom. Yeah, that's who. Thank you, Pastor. That's who it was who slept, and that was David's own son, right? That was David's own son. So, like I said, and that was because of what David had done. So God did that out in the open. I mean, they set up a tent. Everybody knew it, sat in front of whole Israel. So everybody knew what was going on. Go ahead, Kevin.
It's in 2 Samuel 16, 15 to 23.
Okay, y'all can write that down. 2 Samuel what?
16, 15 through 23. 15
through 23. Thank you, Kevin. So y'all can go back and read that. And so now we're going to go on. We're in lesson Genesis chapter 3, and we're going to be doing verses 14 through 24. So we're done ready to go with text and everything. So who wants to kick us off with verse, let's see, do 14 and 15. Well, Dion, kick us off.
It says, and the Lord God said unto the serpent, because thou hast done this, thou art cursed above all cattle, and above every beast of the field. Upon thy belly thou shalt go, and the dust shalt thou eat all the days of thy life. And I will put enmity between thee and woman, and between thy seed and her seed. It shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. So we see now that this is the judgment that first went to the serpent first, which was Satan, before it actually got to Adam and Eve because of the disobedience that happened in the Garden of Eden. And the serpent, he was created as a very beautiful creature. But when this happened, God said, well, curse that you lay your belly, you shall go. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I believe that, and I could be wrong, that it had feet, right? So therefore, that was taken away, and God had a snake, go on his feet and dust, because it's on the ground, and dust it shall eat. So that's what I got out of those verses there.
The enmity between thee and the woman?
Well, I know enmity is, I think that's the part where I struggled in a little bit, because I know the definition of enmity between the woman and thy seed. I don't know if it's talking about birth or her having, babies or whatever the case may be. I'm sorry?
That's on down.
Okay, so I'm not too, just to be perfectly honest, I'm not too sure about that verse there.
Anybody? Oh. And I was picturing how, to think of a snake now, to picture a snake walking, standing upright. I mean, just saying how that's so yucky now, how they just slither. Can y'all imagine a snake that once used to, I guess, walk? I mean, because he cursed them to be on his belly to cross, or like you said, well, I think that was pretty much Satan talking through the serpent, right, Pressley? Yeah, that was Satan talking through the serpent. So, but yeah, I can imagine that. Yeah, low skinny snake. Boy, imagine them anacondas, or whatever they call them, big, what you call the things that wrap around you squeezing. Man, imagine them on the feet. Is that what? Yeah, imagine them on feet. Anyways, so verse 15. For those that come in, we're on Genesis chapter 3, and we're now on verse 14. Anybody want to help on 15? Oh, I'm sorry, Chris.
I don't know for sure, but between the woman and her seed, enmity means that be hated, hatred towards, and her seed was Cain and Abel. All right? And were they Cain killed them?
Well, that's because of sin. But if I'm mistaken, because Pastor, you correct me because it's been so long since we had this. Now, I was looking at when it says the woman between thee and the one man. So we know that that's talking about one woman, and between thy seed and her seed. So now I was looking at, we know the seed of the devil is those that just live in sin. Is that right? Those are because, he said, when he told those Jews that were seeking to kill him, he told them, he said, you're doing the works of your father. And so we know that anybody that's sinning, you belong to the devil, so that's your father, so you are his child. Is that right? So, and then when it says, thy seed and her seed, and it shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. So that to me was talking about Christ and Mary being that woman, right?
Right, that's talking about Jesus actually on the cross.
No, but it's talking about, woman, Mary being that woman, he's talking about putting the hostility between, right? Because how many know the sinners hate, they don't like? You either love God or you don't. You love man or you what? You love God or you what? Don't. Because if you don't love him, you what? You hate him. So we know there's a lot of people who hate Jesus because you can't say you love him when you ain't even living for him. Is that right? Because love is a sacrifice, and to say I love God, I love Jesus, that means I'm going to what? I'm going to live holy, I'm going to be like him. I'm going to do what he asks me to do, because why? Because I love him. Is that right? So that hostility was there, that hatred, and even they hated Jesus. When you go back and read in the Word, his own, he said his own didn't know him not. But that the ones that I spoke of earlier, it was those Jews that were seeking to kill him. Is that right? So if you want to kill somebody, that's hatred in your heart. Is that right? Anytime you want to kill somebody that you can hurt them really bad, and anytime you just want to even hurt somebody, that's not love. Because as our pastor says all the time, love don't hurt. Is that right? So that is speaking of Mary and her seed, her offspring. That's what seed is in Hebrew, is offspring or descendant. So it's talking about Mary and it's talking about Jesus. So is that okay?
Well,
and it's talking about bruising of the heel.
right.
Now, if I'm mistaken, that is talking about when he does What the Jews do, I mean, when he does get,
Well, that's probably what the book is saying, but actually, actuality is what you're saying. The Indian woman. I'm sorry. It's what you said from before, is the seed of the enemy. He said, he is the father of lies. So his seed is liars, his seed is murderers, his seed can't love. So that seed between the seed of God and the seed of the enemy, that's been established. So, and between that seed and her seed, so it's not actually, because Mary wasn't in position then. So, it's, yeah, Eve.
so who's the talking?
So you're looking at God talking to Eve and Adam. But they are the ones that produced Mary and Joseph. Exactly, the whole world came through, and then, from them came Noah, and then the whole world was produced from Noah and their kids. So we all were first cousins. White, black, Indian, Jamaican, we all kids. But it's a thing, like you said, it has nothing to do with Mary, but it has something to do with Adam and Eve. They are, the producer of the earth. So when it comes down to them birthing, just like when he was talking about Cain and Abel, like you said, it was already sin. So that seed, which in other words, every seed of the enemy that, that don't believe in God, this is his seed. So like you said, if they don't want to love, they don't want to receive Christ. That's that seed. And the abusing of the heel, and the abusing of the head and the heel is what God says. Like when Jesus was talking about the truth, telling the Pharaoh sees the truth of who he was, they didn't like it. So they sought out the truth. So the bruise of that head went forth. Way before, it was going forth way before he got on the cross. So
the bruising of the head was the bruising of the heel was Jesus.
Yeah, yeah. I said Jesus bruised the head and the heel.
I mean, I guess what I'm trying to figure out is when it says it shall bruise God and the enemy's head.
Right.
Because that's what he did.
Yeah, that's what Jesus did. And the head is exposed because everything, when the head is dead, the body is.
Exactly.
So it kills everything.
So then when it bruised his heel is talking about Jesus' heel.
Right, because what it is that when it comes down to the heel, it's not a major part of the body that can stop stuff.
Right.
But it's minute, exactly. So it brings forth a bruising that, like us, as we blame church for certain things, and we get hurt by, not the church, but Jesus don't hurt nobody.
Right.
But we get hurt by our kids, people in the church.
Exactly.
Whether they talk us bad or wrong, whatever, that is a part of the bruising of the heel. When we put in our terms to them, but God, he brings that. He brings it every beginning. So, but he still is a father of God. His seed is there. That's all. But because I had a question anyway with that. Yeah, but you're saying it right.
So everybody understands that? If I got it?
You feel, go ahead.
No, I got it now, but when I read it, I was like, oh my God, I never got all of that.
Yeah.
Or when I can understand certain things and pick it up and come together, so, yeah. Appreciate it, I understand that.
Yeah, understand.
Oh, we heard right.
I talk loud, but the enemy can only bruise us, he can't take us out.
That's right.
And that's, I think, the thing, and he does hurt us. He comes in different ways and is very hurtful. But the one thing he cannot do, because of Jesus' work on the cross, he cannot take us out. And I think that's what we gotta get, as we look and we walk through Genesis, it lays out the whole plan, from the beginning to the end, not just what God had promised for us.
That's right.
But the devil ain't got that power anymore. And I think that sometimes in our ignorantness, not saying, but sometimes we're ignorant to understand that we have power, y'all. We are so powerful, but yet we tend to allow the enemy to continue to deceive us in certain ways throughout our life. But he can't take us out no more. That's just the point. He can't.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the devil ain't got no power, period.
Right, but let me square this way, sis. The devil never had power to take us out. I mean, in other words, to kill life, to kill human beings. He was just a worshiper. And that's all he did, he had worship. And that's the only power that he had was to transform. In other words, to look like me, to look like you. But he never had power at all. God never gave him power to take out life. From the beginning and either ended. So I had to get that squared away. So, because I know there's a, well, nobody told us that he had power to take out life. He never had. He was just a worshiper. And that's it. I just want to make sure.
And that's it. He even had to go to Job to get permission.
That's right.
Just to do what he did to him because he know he didn't have no power.
Right.
Is that right? But he wants us to think he's got power.
That's right.
Just like he tried to even deceive when he was tempting Jesus. Well, I give all this to you. You didn't want to do this. I give it. It's all to be yours. It was already God's in the beginning. He didn't have any power. That's good. Thank you. So now, anybody else have any questions? Okay, now. So now we're on 6. Somebody do 16. I guess do 16. Do 16 and then we'll do 17, 18, and 19. Somebody do 16. Huh? Yeah, we're going to do about 3 together. Where they all go together. Oh, go ahead, Father.
And to the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. In sorrow thou shalt bring forth children, and thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. The woman's sentence was sorrow and subjection. The woman will experience pain and trouble during pregnancy and during her delivery, and she must also be obedient and submissive to her husband because he is the head of the house.
That's good. I don't know if y'all seen it well, it's in my book. I don't know if it's in y'all's book. It was saying that apparently she was already, going to have some pain even if this had not happened. But I didn't agree with that because I know sin had not even came on the face of the earth, so I know there was no pain, with God, and they was right with God. So how was she going to have pain and sorrows? So when it says, greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception, no, I don't believe that, I said, no, the book ain't right with that, because even when we get to heaven, there's going to be no more what? No more sorrow, no more pain, no more troubles, no more disappointment. So I said, well, they missed it on this book, because I don't think that would have been correct. She would have been pain-free. She wouldn't have been there, because that's why they probably would have been just birthing. No pain, no morning sickness. Boy, that would have been great. But thanks to Adam and Eve, now we got to have morning sickness, pain. Now, I hope you wouldn't know that, but we got to have all that now on the count of them. Y'all can congratulate Adam and Eve for y'all's pain burst and all that, and the sickness. Go ahead.
When I looked at that and just reading, forth, what stood out to me, and I just wanted to point out the question as to why. Because I know this is taking place because of the disobedience that happened. But when we look at the ending part of the scripture, it says, and thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. We'll go to, the marriage, and we'll look at, the order and how God set the marriage. But this was actually set here in the garden in the beginning, and and I'm just like, I guess my question is, why did God point that out? Was it because of the fact that the sin took place, and if because that happened that the woman would just go run crazy or whatever the case may be? Why did God point that out right now? I guess that's my question.
Well, yeah, but I really think because if they had not had sinned, I don't think she had to be really, because he said this is a help meet. So I believe she was there to help, just to be a help and all that. But now, when you get married, you got to come subject to what your husband okay, now, honey, I want to go. No, you can't go, but I want you to go. Okay, yes. because there was no sin, Eve probably pretty much could have did, whatever she wanted.
Order.
Right, order.
I wondered before I said that.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah.
Now, that's just me, I don't know, go ahead, Steve.
I also was looking at myself, I was looking at the point that she was deceived and she gave to him. And she was saying, and by him supposed to be a ruler over her or over everything, he should not have allowed her to take precedent over giving it to him. He should have stopped it. And so now, by her taking precedent over everything and giving him to eat, and God has pointed out.
She didn't have president over it.
I mean, not president over everything, I said that wrong. But by her taking the action of giving it to him to eat, and he did eat, that means that she was orchestrating the fact that, okay, you're going to eat this instead of him taking what God put him as over everything and not even going that way to eat there. And I was looking at that, so God saw the point that she took leave and gave it to him to eat, and he did. So God said, okay, now you're going to have to fall subject or submissive to him now. And we're supposed to be that strong force to be able to, determine what things happen and how things are to be placed and how things are to be done. And that's what I'm looking at.
Because she took the lead. I like that.
She took the lead.
Go ahead, John.
What the question?
Well, this may not be right, but one thing I was looking at is because there was no sin in the beginning, and God put Adam with that dominion. There was never a question of the order. There was no reason, it was no question, like sometimes in marriages or boyfriend, girlfriend, there's a question of who is the head, who's not. That was never a question because it was already said. And it was a perfect setting. There was no sin where you would think anything was wrong with the order. If that, that's how I look at that. And now that sin has come in, that he has to set that because then that's when sin would take over. Now the woman is in question of who has rule or who doesn't. Sin can take place just like in marriage. You got to be submissive now. You got to understand that God always had that order in the beginning. It just wasn't a question where there was no sin because everything fell. It was perfect. There wouldn't have been a thought of the order. You knew, I guess, the good part of that in a shorter way of saying it.
That's good. That's awesome. Go ahead, Chris, and then we got Larry. Then we let our pastor put the icing on the cake. That was good.
I think we're saying, desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. I think the woman wants the man to be that head of the household. And, she wants that firm foundation when, things kind of look like it's going in trouble and all this, and she can't figure it out. The man will be there to be like, hey, man, it's going to be okay. But, there's certain times, I speak for myself, thank God for her, because if it hadn't been for her, my life would be crazy about it. It really would. I thank God for her. Even when God says that I'm supposed to be the head of the household, I didn't really understand marriage until yesterday, and I got to read the book. And got the fire kind of lit back up on me. It was the saying was, in a relationship, don't look for the perfect person, be that person. And then when I began to look at myself, and my anger and stuff, and I thank God for moving that. Without a shadow of a doubt. And then when I finally got to talking, we started talking, releasing, and really communicating. I still wasn't coming to church like I should. Just didn't have that fire, like I did to begin with. I wouldn't even pray over the food. I would have her do it. She would try to push me. I'm like, I just, But I thank God for that because it showed me that I have to be that person. You know, and lead by an example like Pastor leads for us. And, you know, I'm truly blessed. I really am. This woman, but it's a lot of stuff. And thank God for her. I really do.
Come on, give God a
Yeah, I
hand.
ain't got
Okay, we're gonna have one more back there. Is it Larry? What's your name? Larry?
I was just wondering why God didn't do the devil. He told the world.
Oh, you use your mic?
I was just wondering why God didn't do the devil. Keep the world without sin.
Why he just didn't forgive him and what?
Keep the world without sin.
Keep the word even if he would have forgave him, sin was still out. When they made that act of disobedience and ate and broke that commandment, sin was already in. So, yeah, it had nothing to do with forgiveness. Just like he forgives us. When we do wrong, he forgives us. But what? Sin still ain't on no worse. It's still here, is that right? Just like he destroyed all, he said, well, I'm going to destroy everybody but what? Noah and his family. But guess what? Because of their nature, they still had a what? Sin nature. And what? Sin continue on and on after that. Is that right? So, I mean, that's right. So now we're going to have our pastor.
Well, no, I don't get it. Hannah did.
Yeah.
That's a job and you can find when like you were saying, before she even went and presented it, is that order never had to be set because it was just there. But anytime there is a challenge in our life, that was the ultimate challenge, especially when it comes down to the whole world left in the hands of two people of how it's going to go. So you're looking at, Eve offering. So like Jhonson said, after that sin had, well, not even sin, the disobedient act is sin. So that disobedience set that order of the earth and mankind and opened up the nature of every mankind, not just them, but every mankind that was born from them, thy seed, their seed. So in that, is that it started a whole generation, so we had to set that in order. Is that the man is not the pastor of church, and that's what people are teaching it wrong. Is that God is the pastor of the church, but the men supposed to be that now. Let's say the ones that got a wife. Okay, so when you got a wife, you are the head of that house. Now that I was counseling some people, and it's so funny because the subject of the word submissive came up, and I began to tell her, you need to be submissive. I said, that's not true. I said, no truth to God. She says, I'm not going to be submissive. I don't want to be submissive. I'm not going to be like those women. I said, what do you think submissive is? I said, give me your definition, because she was really adamant, and her husband said, see, this is what's going on. And she said, it's to get on, to lay down, and you got to be obedient like a dog to them, and everything they say, you just got to be yes, sir, no, sir. I said, that's not submissive. That's right. I said, submissive is just coming in order with whatever agreement that with your husband. If your husband says he needs help, then submissive says, okay, let me see what I can do. Talk about it, say, okay, I can do this, I can go ahead. That's helping. That's being submissive. Coming under subjection of whatever in agreement and lines up that's right. Now, you can't be with your husband selling drugs, and honey, goddamn, you're a Christian and go out there and sell drugs for me. God ain't talking about that kind of submissiveness. Come on, how do you understand that? Well, if my husband decides he don't want to go to non-denominational church, he wants to go to a cult. You full of the Holy Ghost. Well, what God gonna say about them being submissive? But you better cut it off. Come on. That's it. The devil is a lie. So that's where the God in you, God always stands on proxy. That's like I tell people, you know, when it comes down to a lot of women, and when I was in Florida, a lot of women that even that was in pastoral, they had problems, the husband had problems and being submissive and lining up as a wife because they're in leadership or, you know, pastoral, they don't know how to come down and be a wife. So we started to teach some of them and said, look here, when I go home, I got to go from pastor now to, okay, you leader, you provide, you do this. Now, like I said, if my husband needs some help, then I help him. So that means that's why I work all day in the thrift store. That's why I go get another job. If there is money, because I'm not going to let me be hungry and him be hungry. The devil is like, I eat my steak. I ain't going to wait for no steak to come out the sky. Come on, give God a hallelujah. That's right. And when you start being broke, you don't have to be. God didn't call us to be broke. I can't get no gas in my car, can't fix my car. That's why I don't want to do that. Jenny, I need some help. Baby, let me go out there. I was trying to get 2 jobs here at the door. Before that time, I was being a pastor, like that's what I do. Because what? God made me prosperous. Ain't no being prosperous and being lazy and prosperity don't go together. I understand that. Come on. And even if you don't want to get a job, it's like God made me to the point where, you know what? I know I can't work with no man's job because me and him just don't get along sometimes. But you know what? I invent jobs. I create jobs. Come on, that's why I say, look, let me break that first store. Let's get men's home going together. Let's get a mortgage company. All of this stuff, you know, we're doing so much stuff, and even in Florida, what we might, but creating income to help others and help things that we need to do. I got creativity in me. And that's why I think God was Jasmine doing with the kids. Come on, give about creativity so we don't go hungry. Come on, you gotta have a business with a restaurant in order to cook something. Well, we start cooking and made $1,500 in a day. Come on, because why? God has given us that. When you see your mate need help, you help. Is that all right? And that's a part of submissiveness. You know, so it's that I'm different. Yes, I give one hard. Yeah, you know, he get mad, call me Miss Pastor. What, Mr. Priest? Okay, let's line up. Come on. Is that all right? Hey, I'm still submissive to you. Let me help you today. That in coming agreement with whatever it is that we need to do to work in our life, to make things happen. That we can be prosperous, that we can be givers and not takers. Is that all right? Come on, give God a hallelujah. So this is why, Brother Larry, like she said, is that it wasn't nothing about forgiveness. It was about an act that God had put them over. When they did it, they have already set the order. So now God said, let me put this law. But there was no laws. There was no 10 commandments. There was nothing to be said about our moral ethics. Moral ethics was already established through holiness. The laws that we needed was always established through holiness. But once they got out of holiness and went into disobedience, that just tore apart the law. Yes. That was already established just by holiness. Doing what's right. Being righteous. That's it.